Hello, welcome to Terrors of the Milky Way. My name is Dale DuFay. Here we are in Google Earth. I mean, this is a perfect tool. It's when you see differences and things that are not like you recall. That's simply because we're in another reality that we always existed in. Basically, our souls are fractured and splintered, and each portion is in a replica version of yourself. They're almost identical. Of course, there's internal differences, the skeleton and things like that. But the thing we really have to remember is nothing is changing. It's impossible. It's just different. And for example, Australia. I mean, did a video not too long ago on this channel about Australia, and I noticed the differences in that reality. But of course, if you went back to that video, it's going to be exactly like the Australia is going to be exactly like this is, because we're in another reality. This Australia always looked like this in this reality, but I see tons of differences even from the previous video. Of course, again, if you went back to that video on this channel, which is in the library, it was conducted by this replica version of myself, but it had a different portion of my soul in it. Our soul that are splintered and fractured into these replica versions of ourselves that have always existed since the day we were born. They've been sharing our soul. There's just simply shifting into different realities like musical chairs. Every replica version of yourself, every portion of your soul is shifting. Every replica version of yourself remains on the earth they were created on or born on. So this version of myself has always conducted the library and videos in this reality. So it's going to be exactly the same. But for that portion of my soul that was in this replica version of myself at the time of that video, it was different to that portion of my soul as well. But I know it sounds crazy, but that's exactly what's happening. What else could it be? Because it's impossible for things to change overnight. Geographically, again, Australia has looked like this in this reality as long as humans can remember. But the thing I noticed that's different from what I recall last time going over Australia, this portion of my soul, the one I'll always have, the one that maintains my memories, that's experiencing these reality shifts that have always existed. These are realities that have always been here. It's crazy to realize that you have another, find out you had another replica version of yourself sharing your reality almost identical. At least that's my case. I know my case is not typical. Some of the people experience drastic differences. Again, nothing's changing. It's just different. That's why people around us don't, notice any differences, because to them it's always looked like this, because they still have a portion of their soul they were born with. Because everybody, all life has this fractured and splintered soul that in these realities that have always been here. And it's crazy. I mean, this is another what I call Orion dwarf Earth. That's in pretty much the same location in the Milky Way galaxy, some 25,000 light years from the galactic center, depending on what reality you're in, on the Orion insert arm or Orion spur of the Milky Way galaxy. So these are, obviously there's many Earths in this sector of the galaxy, some 75,000 light years from the reality I recall. I know that reality's still out there. That portion of, that replica version of myself where this portion of my soul originated is still there. It just has another portion of my soul in it, experiencing exactly what my portion of my soul is experiencing. It's crazy. So again, it's like musical chairs, but there's no elimination. Every portion of your soul is going to go into another replica version of yourself. It's fascinating. That's not to say that something could happen, some kind of hiccup in one of the realities. But again, so far I haven't noticed any difference in my personal realities in these replica version of myself that have always existed since the day I was born. That's crazy. It's when you look at people around you that are not experiencing the Mandela effect and they still have the original portion of your soul, it's kind of exciting, because you're looking at another replica version of somebody you have known your whole life, or your family member or whatever. It's crazy. And your pets and everything. But again, they're not experiencing, well, most people aren't experiencing what we are. I don't know why that is, why only 1% are being shown the reality that has always existed, that has never been known. That's why personally I'm convinced that this is a very spiritual thing, obviously, and therefore, holy in a sense, if you will. So we should look at it as a privilege and an honor to be experiencing this shifting into other realities and seeing replica versions of ourselves and other people we have known all our life, or friends or anything. Pets, again, it's amazing. Again, it's why most people are not experiencing it, and why some are is a mystery. Because again, those of us that are being shown this, what I like to say, the reality that has always been, yet never known before. I always honestly think it's the sacred secret that's mentioned in Revelation chapter 10, verse 7, that this is the sacred secret, what the Mandela Effect is revealing, because it's incredible. What could be more sacred than souls, human souls that are eternal, and being fractured and splintered? To find that out, it's very sacred. And again, it's been kept secret from humanity since the very beginning of creation. We're being shown things that no one else has ever seen, realities that have always existed. We know that because, again, most of the people around us that we know in other realities that everything, nothing's different or changed to them. Again, that's something that the word change has got to be removed from the vocabulary, simply because, again, it's important to realize that things are not changing. They're just different to us, the portion of our soul that's inside this replica version of ourselves at this time that has always existed. It's amazing. How many replica versions of ourselves are there? Again, I'm not going to count these realities because I don't feel comfortable about that. But, so far many of us have experienced, upwards of 100 reality shifts. That's crazy. I don't, I believe it's an infinite amount of Earths. But again, I, kind of, mentioning things that are important to always remember. But again, this Australia and this reality has always looked like this. And the previous videos, all the Google trotting videos, are going to represent the Earth and the reality that you're in at the moment, because nothing's leaving. This videos of this reality are always going to stay here. But every replica version of myself is doing this video. So, if you were to enter another replica version of yourself during a shift and look at a video, you'll see that in my case, that replica version of myself did indeed do that video. And it was talking about the exact same thing, but in different terms, especially when we're talking about the differences between these dwarf Earths and the Sagittarius super Earths, which are like that in comparison. These dwarf Earths are only 24,800 miles in circumference. Consider that these Orion dwarf Earths. In comparison, the Sagittarius super Earths are like that. And therefore, the geography is much different. But the thing that always gets me is just how unusually similar every Earth is. Even these Earths compared to the super Earths. But of course, super Earths have, a north pole. There's a continent. In the reality, I recall that this portion of my soul originated. There was a continent up there called Arctica, and Greenland and all that. Iceland was further south because, again, the Earth obviously ages as it grows. It's like a balloon. So this dwarf Earth will eventually be a super Earth as it ventures out this arm. Because basically they're finding out that the Orion spur or Orion inner arm of the Milky Way galaxy and the Sagittarius arm are really one of the same. But again, a couple areas I noticed that are different than the reality I did, recall. And Australia's always got variations and differences. I mean, look at how big the Great Australian Bight is. It's a lot of times it's straighter across like this, but in every reality they call it the Great Australian Bight. And what's amazing is there's almost another one right here. That's insane. And then I still can't get over a lot of these Orion dwarfers. The Australia has a gulf here, and I noticed another gulf. This is called a gulf here, right here, between this island, which doesn't exist in a lot of realities, even in these Orion dwarfers. It has a gulf right here. It's crazy, but this one is I never can get over that. It's called Joseph Bonaparte Gulf. Sometimes you got to get it to coax up the name, but there it is, Joseph Bonaparte Gulf. I think that was Napoleon Bonaparte's brother, I believe. He had a gulf named after him in many realities. But again, this gulf doesn't even exist on the super Earths in Australia. And then here I just discovered this is a gulf here as well. Van Diemen Gulf, or it might be Diemen Gulf. But this doesn't exist even. It didn't even in the previous reality. But again, it's always going to show this gulf and everything identical in every video, because the videos don't leave. Nothing leaves these Earths. Nothing leaves these realities, including the versions of ourselves that have always existed on the Earths and these realities. Nothing leaves. The only thing that's leaving is the portions of our soul. They're being allowed to coalesce into other replica versions of ourselves very easily and effortlessly. That just goes to show how close and tied in all the portions of our souls are. They're constantly connected on a subconscious level. That's why we have to have REM sleep. It's crazy. That's why so many things are explained by what the Mandela Effect's revealing. The fact that we have perhaps, I'm sure it's not really even a finite number. I honestly think it's infinite throughout the universe, because everything's parallel. Even the spirit realm is parallel. Heaven, if you will, is parallel. Everything is parallel. So, of course, the galaxies will be parallel as well. So that's amazing. But this is gulf here, doesn't exist in many realities, including the previous one. But again, every time you look in the video, it's not going to leave. Everything has been exactly like this for as long as humans can remember. This may even be a gulf, but I couldn't find a name for it. But this is even, didn't exist in the previous reality that I recall, that I've always existed in. That's crazy. I mean, look at how close to New Guinea and this part of this peninsula here. It's crazy. And this Gulf of Carpentaria is another gulf that doesn't even exist in many realities. For some reason, it's difficult to get the name out. But it was named after, a little town with 14 people in it around here. Carpentaria. This doesn't exist in many realities. Some realities, it's, the coastline is about here. But this one is like way, way down. And these islands, I didn't notice these previously. But again, they're here. They've always been here in this reality. Nothing's changing. This version of myself has always been here. It just says, the portion of my soul I'll always have in it at the moment. Again, it's just really interesting why some of us are experiencing it and most others are not. This incredible miracle. I think it has obviously a lot to do with the soul. I believe it's no doubt cleansing our soul, and it's purifying and strengthening our soul. Because you imagine just how incredible it is. I mean, obviously, this is something that humans didn't cause. This is something that the opposition didn't cause. This is something created and caused and prophesized even by the supreme creator, the creator of our human soul, that we're finding out is remarkable to the extreme. That are allowed to be in these material bodies. I mean, it's incredible. We're the envy of the universe, believe me. That's why all this fuss is being made over us. That's why I think the Mandela Effect is so incredibly important, because this is something that has never happened before. There's been cataclysms. There's been, everything has happened many times on these earths, but never have our soul portions been shifting like this. There's gotta be a reason for it. I mean, it's important, and it's gotta be, again, think about it. The portion of your soul you were born with, you'll never, It gets to go. It's not blending into another soul portion of yours. They were created fractured and splintered. Every bit, every soul, all life was created that way. And again, this is something that's being discovered for the first time. And now, we get to try and explain it to people that are not experiencing the Mandela effect. They're not going to believe you. We know what quantum entanglement is. All life is, I think that quantum entanglement's that dark matter that's so mysterious to, astrophysicists and people that are trying to understand the universe. I believe that is the quantum entanglement. But again, there's so many variations and differences in Australia. It's crazy. It's always on the coastlines. Every reality has this unique feature that I noticed quite a while ago in the bed of the Coral Sea. I honestly believe that this is a pyramid that was under construction. You could see the ramp here, zigzagging up one side. So that this is in every reality as well, which is proving that human beings have been on this earth for who knows how long. And those humans, which are no doubt, I like to say we are our ancestors. But our ancestors had no idea they had a parallel existence, and there was other Earths throughout the Milky Way galaxy where they were sharing realities, that were virtually identical. Of course, there's going to be variations and differences because of the geography. Like the war battles and everything were quite a bit different. D-Day on Normandy, it's remarkable how different Normandy is. Here, straight north and south, I remember Normandy being this way. They were able to go into the beaches and head straight east, but here they had to go south and then go east. But the important thing to remember is, even though there was variations in the battles, that the outcome is always the same. In the United Kingdom, always gets me. In some realities they call it Great Britain or England, but here they call it the United Kingdom. And I'm always fascinated with Ireland being its own separate island. In a reality I recall, and many of you may not recall that because their soul portion that you always have, it was from another reality where even I exist. But there is realities out there, and I recall that where Ireland is part of the main island, and Scotland was the one that was separate. That's why there's always such conflict between Scotland, Ireland, and England, because and they got different layouts in every reality. It's crazy. But that, in Italy seems to be further this way. I recall it straight north and south, like many of you do with Sicily off the toe quite a bit. Here it's practically touching. But it has to, because otherwise it would touch Africa. This is another gulf that doesn't exist in the North Shore of Africa here, in many realities. And I always see variations and differences in it. This peninsula coming out, this island, this little peninsula, this bump out. And there were many battles here as well in World War II. So that's why they had such a, the battles were different. They varied because of the geography. But the outcome remained the same. Every outcome of every battle remained the same. But they were different because of the geography. But again, that quantum entanglement has to be maintained at all times as much as possible. But again, it's like, it's just, sorry about, no comments and stuff, but it just, some people just, if you don't believe it, you don't have to. It's, but to me, it's very obvious what the Mandela effect is revealing. Nothing's changing. That's impossible. You got to eliminate the things that are impossible. And whatever is left, no matter how improbable it is the truth. And that being what the Mandela effect is revealing. And I believe that's what it's supposed to be doing. It's revealing things that have always been, yet never known. Think about that. We had no idea. We were totally oblivious that we had other replica versions of ourselves sharing our realities in completely different other realities in the same galaxy. We know it's the same galaxy because these realities are so close to the galactic center. Astrophysicists who too have a parallel existence, in the reality I recall, didn't think that this portion of the galaxy was even habitable. but indeed it is. I mean, of course, they were oblivious. They had no idea they had replica versions of themselves, sharing their soul in these other realities this close to the galactic center on these itty bitty little dwarf Earths. I call them Orion dwarf Earths. They're just so small. It's remarkable. But again, the thing that gets me is how unusually similar. Even though South America is like 1,200 or 2,500 miles east, as we recall. But you can almost visualize as this Earth grows and as it ages, you can see where the northern hemisphere apparently twists eastward as this Earth grows. So eventually the Americas will line up. Eventually the Isthmus of Panama will be straight north and south. But that could take hundreds of millions of years. Who knows? But it's crazy that we're in these remarkably unique and different realities, but they're so unusually similar. Even these Earths. I mean, it's just remarkable. And to find out that we've always been here. This replica version of yourself is virtually identical, had the same reality you had, for the most part, on a different Earth. And of course, being born in the Midwest, in the Chicago area, in fact, a little town called Naperville there, that's where I was born. Nothing's changed, nothing's different in each. The realities are very similar. Of course, you'll see differences in buildings and city layouts and things like that. But being in this area, as I'm experiencing the Mandela Effect, I don't see too many. I do. Sometimes the roads are hillier than I recall and things like that. But for the most part, I often think of the people who live in South America. I mean, I brought that up in the last video. They're in a completely different time. They have realities that are in time zones that are 4 hours over here. So here in these realities, they're going to go to sleep 4 hours before they will in this reality. But of course, because of that quantum entanglement and that necessary REM sleep, their sleeping patterns are different down here. I was always curious about that, why they needed siestas down there. They always had to take naps. You can always, now I can see why. So it must be unusual to live down here. Of course, they're oblivious. They have no idea. They have realities that are in Central Time Zone. Right now, Peru's in the Eastern Time Zone. But in some realities, it's in the Central Time Zone. In others, it's in the Mountain Time Zone. And the reality I recall, it's in the Pacific Time Zone, Peru. So that must be really unusual. Of course, they're oblivious to it, but they have that subconscious connection constantly, that quantum entanglement to all the replica versions of yourself. So that must be, very curious. And then, could you imagine? I could talk an hour about the Panama Canal. Now, I remember being in a reality, this portion of my soul, the one I'll always have, was in a reality where it was straight north and south in the Isthmus of Panama. It was straight east and west like this. But of course, the reality I recall, the Isthmus of Panama was straight up and down, north and south. And the canal was like a straight east and west, plumb line. Plus it was about 90 miles. The Isthmus of Panama. Here it's like 60. This one might even be less. Let's measure it just for giggles. To get an estimate. All right. Oh my God. See, it's not even 40 miles. Isn't that crazy? But because the canal is so different as far as, let me true north this. It actually, you got to come in straight south, then you go straight east. And this is to get to the Pacific Ocean from the Atlantic. It's crazy. But anyway, you have to go straight south and then east, then straight south, straight east, southeast to get to the west coast of the Pacific, where the Pacific is. That's crazy. So the length of the canal is virtually the same because it's straight plumb line on a wider isthmus. And here it's, like got a kinks in it and everything. It's crazy. But could you imagine if, of course, the captains and helmsmen that transverse this canal on a regular basis have no idea that they have other replica versions of themselves, crossing the Panama Canal in their realities, and some realities they're going straight west to get to the Pacific Ocean from the Atlantic, and in some realities they're going straight east to get to the Pacific Ocean from the Atlantic. I mean, they're oblivious to it again. But could you imagine if somebody was experiencing the Mandela effect, they went through the canal on a regular basis, they would lose their job because they would say the compass is broken. How come we're going east when we need to go west? So it must be. But again, every reality and every replica version of ourselves is transversing the canal. They're going to get to their destination regardless, in every reality. Regardless of what direction and how many navigational turns they have to make. And I also remember there was elevation issues in the canal that this portion of my soul and the reality that I originated in. They had elevation issues. Here they only got locks on each end, but I remember locks throughout the canal because the elevation was pretty high in the middle. But it was a fascinating feat. Here they were actually able to use Gantoon Lake and this river system that was already there. They just had, they got to pretty much go with that. This river has a name. I can't think of what it is, the Charles or something like that. But, it's amazing how different it is. But yet, that's no doubt why it took two nations 30 years to build this thing. The French tried it and gave up, but the Americans came in and did it. It was quite a feat in the reality I recall because I studied it. I was so fascinated by it. And then when I first started experiencing the Mandela effect, I was in a reality that's still there, still exists, where there's a replica version of myself, still there, but with another portion of my soul. But that portion of my soul gets to witness the canal plumb line north and south, because the isthmus is straight east and west. Because there's not, this earth seems to be smaller than that one, and that's why there's a kink in the isthmus here. Some of the, larger earths straightens out. So you can almost imagine that happening on this earth. As this earth grows, as it ages, you can see here where it's going to separate. And they know that separates in the Atlantic Ridge. There's proof of it in Iceland. Like I like to say that this great, her tremendous rift has separated almost, a little over 5 feet in my lifetime. So that's remarkable. So we know that, it's obvious because of the Mandela effect's revealing the Earth's grow as it age. And of course, most geologists assume this Earth stays the same size. But they don't know they're in Earth's replica versions of themselves in realities where the Earth is 2 to 3 times larger than this. So it's amazing. There may be smaller ones, but these ones in this area, these clusters of Earths, even though there's variations and differences throughout, especially in the coastline. Here's another one here I noticed. This is not in a lot of realities. This part here by Kamchatka or whatever. I don't want to pronounce that right. But that's another thing. This I remember hugging the coastline more. And here it's just like totally separate. And there's its own sea in here. That's incredible. But yeah, I can't get the name. But I remember this because it was on the game of Risk. But I'm sure it's in reality in that game. And so many differences in Alaska, especially the coastline. This island I never noticed before. These are always here. The atoll here, and the Bering Sea. They're in every reality, but there's so many differences. It's crazy. But we've come to expect that. And this helps us to realize, that's why I love this tool, Google Earth. In every reality, it's going to represent the Earth in that reality. It's not Google Earth doesn't change in this, because you can look at any old globe or any map and show this Earth. So what else could it be? Again, you eliminate the impossibles. It's impossible to change overnight. It's impossible for our bodies to change overnight. And what I mean by that is internally mostly. And I have facial scars on my right cheek from an accident I had 45 years ago. And that happened. Obviously that accident happened in every reality I went through a barbed wire fence with a motorcycle. But the thing is, in every reality, every version of myself experienced that, but the scars are different. And I've come to expect that. Every replica version of myself, the scar is going to vary. And it's, because perhaps it went through the fence in a different angle, or the fence was hung by the installers differently, or the barbed wire was spooled out differently in the factory and things like that. So there's going to be slight variations and differences in every reality. But the scars are there in every replica version of myself, but they're different. But most of the differences are internal, our heart, everything. These replica versions of ourselves are way more robust. It's remarkable. I like being in these versions of myself because they're much stronger. The hearts are bigger, everything. Rib cage is stronger. That reality where this portion of my soul originated, human beings are very frail. It's amazing. You didn't know, everybody knew somebody that had a broken collarbone or a broken rib that was floating, because a lot of the reality I recall, and this is so incredible, every male was missing a rib. That's crazy. And that's not the case in these realities. So I like to call that reality where this portion of my soul originated. That's the Adam's rib reality. Because some of you come from realities that have super Earths on the outer reaches of the Milky Way galaxy, on the Sagittarius arm. Obviously, there's many Earths out there that vary considerably. Some have a continent on the North Pole called Arctica. Some only have massive ice caps on the North Pole. But there's variations and differences. So even though we're at every reality, our soul, you got to remember, our soul is splintered and fractured. And the portion you were born with is always going to remain with you. It's never going to combine with the other portions of your soul. Only the replica versions of yourselves that vary considerably. Again, I like being in this robust body. It's nice. There's again, we were versions of ourselves in those realities where we originated from, which again, it's important to realize nothing happened to those realities. They're still there. The replica version of yourself, where this portion of your soul originated from, is still there. But there's just another portion of your soul in it at this time, experiencing the exact same thing you are, but in different terms. And it's showing us why. We couldn't do anything if we didn't have these replica versions of ourselves with this quantum entanglement. We wouldn't be able to, breathe. We wouldn't be able to walk. This quantum entanglement the Mandela Effect's revealing is the essential. It's the basic, fundamental foundation of existence. And that's what's incredible about what the Mandela Effect is revealing. And we were being shown. We're not being told. We're being shown. What better way than being told? The best way is to, show us. Literally show us that there's other replica versions of yourself that have always existed in these realities that have always existed and always will. It's incredible. That's why we know nothing happened to those realities we originated from. Because if anything happened to those Earths, it would affect these Earths. They're all growing at the same pace, and they're all rotating off their axis at the same speed. That's why the time's different. That's incredible, because each Earth has its own calibrated 24-hour day, but they rotate at the same speed off their axis, regardless of what size they are. So the days are going to be a lot longer on those super Earths. That's another thing. We have realities where the days are longer and things are better quality because of that. Here they have to cut corners to keep up, keep that quantum entanglement maintained. But you could see they cut corners here. Not to be cheap, but they have to for time. They're not aware, they're oblivious to the fact that they have other replica versions of themselves making a movie or whatever and having more time on a super Earth. And that's the incredible thing, that even though the time varies, it still remains the same. Isn't that crazy? We know that because if time was linear, then this reality being 50% faster in time, then I would be 90 some years old in this reality. But I'm not. I'm the exact same age, born the exact same day. Everything, it's incredible. So again, what's that showing us? That we have replica versions of ourselves that are in realities that have more time, So there's probably, I mean, I always liken it to a roll of film. Each frame in that roll of film is one of your realities with a replica version of yourself sharing your soul. Each frame. So there may be a replica version of yourself that's slightly ahead of you, and there might be a replica version of yourself right behind you all the time. And that's why, the film's going. That's basically our life. And it's that quantum entanglement, that basic fundamental foundation of existence that allows us to walk, allows us to breathe, allows us to practice and try to perfect things. And it's just incredible. So, the fact that the Mandela effect is happening is incredible. It's the most important thing that has ever happened in all history of humanity. It's gotta be something. It must be ushering in something incredible. And I honestly believe that there's, since creation started in these realities, they were already split and fractured. Every reality was already in existence. They didn't start popping off and going into every reality from a single existence. We don't have a singular. We're not on a singular Earth. We're on a multitude of Earths, and that's what's incredible. That's what helps us exist. We never knew this before, and the Mandela effect is showing us. Again, it's important to eliminate those things that are impossible. This Earth did not change. It was always like this. I mean, look at all these continents and countries in this Africa, and all these. Some of these I never even heard of. Turkmenistan, it's crazy. These a lot of these don't exist in many realities. And the Black Sea here and the Caspian Sea are always so different. Persian Gulf is pretty similar. This peninsula is different in some realities. The Mediterranean Sea is unbelievably small here in these realities, and it's always variations and differences. Unbelievable, which we've come to expect, which helps us realize, wow, we're in another reality. We're inside of another replica version of ourselves that has been here since the day we were born and sharing our soul. That's crazy. But that's exactly what the Mandela effect is showing us. And I know a lot of people, I'm not, just because to me it's obvious, doesn't mean it's the truth. You know what I mean? I'm not claiming I have all the answers because nobody's telling me anything. You have to go by what we're experiencing. This is obviously a different reality. This island here doesn't even exist in many realities. And then this reality, it's almost touching this peninsula here. It's crazy. Even in recent reality experiences that I have always existed in, and you too, this island was always away from quite a bit. Over here, it's almost touching. And this peninsula doesn't exist in a lot. I mean, it's just crazy. So what else could it be? It's just simply a different Earth that has always been here. And it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Everything is parallel, including these Earths. And whatever happens on this Earth happens on Earths that are 75,000 light years away because they're obviously connected like we are. This is obviously a living planet here that is connected with other replica versions of itself with its variations. That's why the bodies are different. They're humans and everything, life in general is created to suit the particular Earth they were created on. That's why our bodies are more robust. There must be a reason for that. Because, I don't know. It's crazy. Vietnam is always so different. Cambodia is so small here. Thailand is so, look, it even comes down into Malaysia here a little bit. This here is all the way down to here is Thailand. That's unbelievable. Again, it didn't change overnight. The people in Google are not changing this. They're just doing a great job in representing the Earth in this reality. And there's going to be variations and differences. Again, like I said, I used to count them in the other channel. I'm just not going to do that anymore because it's happening so, I just was uncomfortable about it. Naming the Earths and things and trying to number them. It's obviously there's, who knows how many there are. There's enough room in this galaxy alone to have 500 billion planets. That's what the billion, 500 billion planets. How many of those are Earths? When you look up at the night sky and see those stars, how many of those stars have Earths around it, with mimicking our reality where we exist? They're looking up at our sun and seeing it as a star, or maybe perhaps our sun is a constellation to another reality. Because that's another important thing to remember and realize, is we do have this parallel existence on a multitude of Earths, but they're separated by distance, not by dimensions. Other dimensions do exist, it's obvious, but there's parallel too. So that's crazy. So it's distance, light years, that separate our realities. So we can look up at the night sky, we can look at the stars, and wonder how many of those have Earths around it. And some of your replica versions of yourself, that's been sharing your soul since the day you were born, are looking up from their reality at our sun and seeing it as a part of a constellation, perhaps. Maybe the sun, in some realities, our sun is a star in Orion's belt, And as we look up at the Orion, even the constellations are parallel. That's why they're there in every reality. We shouldn't overcomplicate this. This is exactly what's happening. We're shifting into other realities that we have always existed on. It's as simple as that. And the Mandela Effect is showing us. I think it's incredible. It's a shame that, it's even gotten into. That's another reason I don't allow comments, because you get too many haters out there that are convinced that this thing is flat. I mean, it's Mandela Effect is showing us that these Earths orbit stars, and they are globes. I mean, come on. I think the Mandela Effect, or the flat Earth theory, was a psychological operation, and I'm sure the people who conjured it up are probably surprised to this day how well it took off. But it's quite obvious that the Earth is a globe. I know my uncle went to Vietnam, and then went to, and that was from, we went from Chicago to California. He started here in Chicago, made a flight to California, came all the way to Japan, and then down to Vietnam, and then he was stationed in Germany after that. And then Germany's right. No, if that's France, this is Germany. It's so different. Germany's crazy how there's actually got a coast in the North Sea. In a lot of realities, it has no excess or coast to the North Sea whatsoever. And the reality I recall, Denmark is part of Switzerland. Here, it was up here. But here it's on the mainland continent. It's a peninsula. But it's a, remarkable that we get to experience this and get to see these different realities. And this, again, there's just amazing. That's why I quit counting them, because there's too many of them. I think it's infinite. And it's happening frequently. A lot of times, I have an atlas in front of me all the time, and I notice the variations and differences in that. Of course, it's not changing. Somebody didn't come in and change that, but it represents this Earth and this reality, so I see the variations and differences. Then I jump to Google Earth, and wow, there they are. Again, I could just go on forever about this. But again, my uncle, after he was in Germany, he, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but I'm glad I remembered. But he circumvented the Earth. From Germany, he went to New York, then to Chicago. So he literally circumvented the Earth during the Vietnam War in 1968. And again, like I said, he was stationed in Germany and then flew back to New York. So he circumvented the Earth. I was very proud of him for that. So that's something that's impossible on a flat Earth. Again, it's a shame that theory was kind of tied in the Mandela Effect, it seems like, because it's confusing, what's happening to us. So a lot of people, the only explanation is the flat Earth theory or other explanations. But it's, if we keep it simple, we could realize, even though it's improbable, but all along, all life has had this parallel existence, even the dinosaurs, in every reality. But what I was getting at before is, imagine when creation started on all these realities. whoever knows how long ago that was. And once the creation happened and all this, you know, every soul of every living creature on every earth, including the earths themselves, are splintered and fractured from day one. Okay, so once that happened, uh, the look at the Milky Way galaxy. It's not going to take a break. It's still creating matter from this galactic center. So after creation and all these realities happened, meanwhile, the Milky Way galaxy is still creating duplicate Earths or solar systems with Earths in them. As we speak, there might even be some Earths in Pangea stage. But those Earths, since the realities were created, you draw a line right here. Creation, new Earths. Think about that. It makes a lot of sense because all of a sudden these new Earths aren't going to pop up and then new realities pop into them, because that already happened from day one. The separation and splintering and fracturing of our soul and these Earths were all separated in that creation realm from day one. Okay, since that day, the realities move on. Uh, you know, who knows how long? Who knows how long humans been on these Earths? I'm thinking in the millions, a million years at least. Okay, so at that point, the Milky Way galaxy is still creating matter as we speak, and that matter being stars with solar system, being turning into solar systems with Earths. Not every one of them will have Earths, but most of them might. So there's, behind this creation line, visualize this line here. Creation happened on these Earths. The reality started and moved on, in every reality. But since then, there's been brand new solar systems, brand new Earths that have no realities like we, as we know it. Think about that. Some of them might have dinosaurs on them. Who knows? But those Earths, I often wondered, those Earths with no realities as we know them, because they were created after life started on these realities. Think about that. These Earths must be the new Earths. And supposedly, according to Revelation, my favorite book in the Bible, that makes a lot more sense now thanks to the Mandela Effect, I honestly think those new Earths are exactly what John was talking about. Think about it. I mean, I'm not religious. This channel's not religious. I don't believe in religion. They're all good. They're all bad. There's no such thing as one true religion. But I do believe in some of the thing. I believe the Bible is deliberately like it is, so it can be taken in any way you want it. But there are important clues in it. And one of them, I think several are in Revelation. The sacred secret. Very important. Something's going to happen. It keeps saying, John kept saying, the sacred secret will be revealed. Think about it. What else could the sacred secret be? The Mandela Effect. What has been kept secret? The fact that we've had this parallel existence all along. What could be more sacred than life? So of course it's a sacred secret, the Mandela Effect. In Revelation chapter 10:7. I always wondered what that was, what that meant. And now we know, we're being shown. So that's why I know this is a momentous thing. So I'm thinking these new Earths are what John was talking about, that await us. Because, I often wondered, especially when we thought we had a single reality on a singular Earth, I often wondered what the new Earth was all about. Were they going to take the Earth and cleanse it and start all over, These Earths and these realities are marred with human things, like the pyramids, the Mount Rushmore, all of these things that humans have made in antiquity, especially, still exist in these realities. But the realities, the new Earths won't have any of that. They won't have the pyramids. They won't have Mount Rushmore. They'll be super clean, untouched by human beings, or who knows, life in general, perhaps. Who knows? Those could be the new Earths. Think about it, that are awaiting us. that have no marring from any human civilization whatsoever because they never had it. It's all new reality. It's a new heaven, a new earth. Think about it. That must be what John is talking about. And we're being shown. That's incredible. So we're obviously at that time. In Revelation 10:7, it says it's before the seventh angel sounds the trumpet. And that's the seventh out of seven angels. So we're pretty deep in what's going on here. And obviously the Mandela Effect is a clue to that. The remarkable fact that we are experiencing the Mandela Effect is a clue to what is about to happen to human beings. And I believe everybody's going to be given a chance. And I believe everybody, all souls, were created long ago. We all have ancient souls. We're just unaware of it because we keep getting rebirthed and start off with a clean slate. A lot of us, retain our gifts like musical talent and things like that. Why do you think 5-year-olds can do things? Why do you think certain young people have interest in things? Because they did it in the previous existence. All of us, none of us are exempt from that. I think the human soul is internal. It's simple as that. But our flesh isn't. But I believe maybe in these new realities that are awaiting us, who knows how many, it must be at a certain time. That's why we're experiencing the Mandela Effect. It must be a certain time when there's enough Earths in those, untouched realities that are awaiting us. There must be enough now, because every replica version of yourself has got it. It's not like some of the versions of yourself aren't going to make it to the new Earths because there's not enough of them. You know what I mean? So there must be, I believe the Milky Way galaxy is maxed out, and the Sagittarius arm is probably calving as we speak and taking Earths with it. And that's been going on in every reality. I mean, they're not colliding, they're calving. It's quite obvious. Again, many of you know I never did like the Big Bang Theory. I call it the Big Boo-Boo Theory, because it just that's why they can't say the Earth is growing. A geologist must realize it is if they've been taking measurements for who knows how long. Maybe there's not enough instrumentation to do it yet, and data, because its growth is so infinitesimal, so minuscule, that it's probably hard to notice in a lifetime. It would take several lifetimes to realize the Earths are growing. But there are geologists out there that know it's growing. It makes too much sense. And when it was Pangea, there was no water at all. It was all continent, and probably the size of the Mercury in this solar system. Because obviously the solar systems grow, every planet grows, the sun grows as they venture out the galactic arm. I think it's awesome what the Mandela Effect's revealing. So sorry people that believe in the flat Earth. That's not the case. If there's replica versions of yourself, all of us, on those Sagittarius super Earths, which are unmistakably globes. There's no talk of those Earths being flat in those realities. No way. They're obviously globes and spheres, because they're humongous. These dwarfs now, I can almost see why people think that, because they're so drastically different than what we recall. So a lot of people are grasping for explanations, but look at it this way. Keep it simple. I can't stress that enough. Stupid simple. If we overcomplicate this, which is easy to do, then everything becomes kind of sinister, But the reality is we're being blessed with this privilege to be able to visit other replica versions of ourselves that have always existed that we never knew about. Think about that. It's crazy. I personally just blown away by it. This, for the last 3 years. To me, it's very obvious. What else could it be? This is another Earth that has always existed. We have most of the people around us to confirm it. They don't see no differences. Lake Superior's always been like this. I remember the north, the boundary between Canada and North America, United States. This was the southern shore of Lake Superior. Lake Superior was completely in Canada, and much larger. The Great Lakes are so uniquely different in every reality. In some realities, these lakes are connected. What is that, Erie and See, they're so different. I mean, I got to make sure this is Erie and this one, Ontario, are connected by a canal. But here they're not. And Michigan is always so different, my God. I remember, again, there's so much scalloping and variations and differences. But, again, it's just incredible what we're experiencing. This earth has always been here. So that's the only explanation, as improbable as it is. This earth has always been here. And we were always on this earth, just as we're on all the other ones. We're oblivious to it, but the Mandela effect is showing us. And again, this shifting thing has got to be important. It's got to be cleansing our souls. Not only that, it's showing us what life has always been. I mean, that's the thing. So anyway, thanks a lot for listening to me ramble on. I mean, to me, again, this is so obvious. I'm not claiming I have all the answers. But to me, I always kept things simple. To me, it's like very obvious that there are multiple realities. And all of them so far are in the Milky Way galaxy. Of course, everything's parallel, so the Milky Way galaxy is too. Whether we have replica versions of ourselves in those realities, I imagine so. But we seem to be only shifting into realities that are within the Milky Way galaxy. Again, keep it simple. We know we were on the outer reaches of the galaxy, 75,000 light years from here. So what else could it be? It's distance that separates our reality, not dimensions. Again, the dimensions are parallel too. Those beings that from that dimension, they're not from another planet. They want you to think they are. They also have a parallel existence. And of course, when they greet people in antiquity or even now and point up and say they're from Sirius constellation, they are. But they fail to tell you that you're there too. They don't want us to know. That's why we know they didn't perpetrate this. This event was perpetrated by Jehovah to fulfill prophecy. It's as simple as that. And I've been saying that from day one. Because what could be more important and credible than what we're experiencing? Something's up, I'm telling you. Again, there's realities where nobody exists that are awaiting us. Brand new. Think about it. Brand new clean earths without no Mount Rushmore. There may not even be a asteroid belt in those solar systems because it's agreed upon for the most part by most astrophysicists that the asteroid belt used to be a planet that got destroyed. So no doubt those new heavens with the new solar systems with the Earths in them probably have a planet where the asteroid belt is. Everything is clean and brand new and ready to go, just like John said in Revelation. Think about it. Because, again, I'm not spiritual or theocratic, but I was always fascinated with the book of Revelation, always tried to understand what John was talking about. Maybe he saw the parallel, existences and was revealed to him. That's why in Revelation 10:7, when it says that the prophets will reveal to the prophets, I'm sure they're talking about the prophets of old. And again, they had a parallel existence then. They were oblivious to it, no doubt. But they had a parallel existence and they had replica versions of themselves in every reality, and they were probably, no doubt, rebirths. So those prophets are among us now. It's incredible when you think about it. No soul has been destroyed. That's why I know, again, that's in Revelation. Supposedly they're going to be, when they open that book of life, it's not about 180 years of life. It's about every chapter is another, reality or another existence, previous existence. Who knows how many we've had? 1,000? Each of us? Who knows? It's incredible because, again, we're start off with a clean slate. Just like we're oblivious to the fact that we have other replica versions of ourselves, and we had all along. It's incredible. So again, thanks for letting me ramble on because I like talking about it, and there's nobody to talk to about it. That's the main reason I got these channels, so I can talk about it, and that's because it's fascinating. That here we are on another Orion dwarf Earth, on the inner arm or Orion Orion spur or the inner arm of the Orion on the Sagittarius. I mean, it's crazy. Here it is. How many of them are there here? But again, thanks again for watching, and we'll Google trot at you later. Love you.